the same problem with that one.
For TV, it seems to be okay with that, so.
Is okay with what?
Moving it over by the bar.
Okay. All right, now the next thing is,
Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. All thumbs up.
yesterday, if you recall, I asked you about your comfort level in terms of temperature, and you took a vote, and it was about 2-1 in favor of that things had been just about right. I thought it was cold. And guess what? So I had him nudge it up a little bit. Now, I shouldn't have told you that. I should have just asked you how was the temperature yesterday. How many felt it was too warm in here yesterday? How many felt it was too cold? How many were just perfect? Look at that. Wonderful. What a wonderful jury to work with. Okay, and finally, Mr. Number 7 is no longer on the jury. I've dismissed him, so we'll proceed with the 19 of you. Okay, anything else? Let's go.
Show me what's been marked as Exhibit 37. Could you tell me what that is?
This is a search warrant for Gage Grosskreuz's cell phone.
And what is the date and time that's on the front page of that at the lower left corner?
September 23rd, 2020 at 8:12 p.m.
Okay. And that was the day before the interview of Gage Grosskreuz.
I believe so.
Move Exhibit 37 into evidence.
Is there objection?
No. Detective, on August 26th of 2020, you were at the Antioch Police Department and informed Kyle Rittenhouse that he was being detained for the charge of first-degree murder at approximately 6:40 a.m., correct?
That sounds about right.
And a criminal complaint which brought him into this court was filed the next day in consultation with the district attorney's office on August 27th of 2020. In your course of investigation, wrote a lengthy police report, approximately 57 pages.
Yes.
And that summarizes, for lack of a better word, much of your involvement in this case, not all of it.
Yes.
Okay. I'm referring to page of your report, 55 of 57. You received a thumb drive from the FBI, correct?
Detective Ansaramian received that thumb drive.
You viewed information from the videos of that thumb drive.
Sorry, I was thinking about the drone footage, or the fixed-wing aircraft footage that we saw here. That was obtained by Detective Ansaramian, but I also received a thumb drive, yes, from the FBI.
And specifically, I'm referring to FBI video AE5, if we could have that on the screen. And I'm going to read from your report and tell me if I'm reading correctly, and then we'll play the video.
Okay.
It's on. Page 55 of 57, second to last paragraph, stating in your words, at 41 seconds into the video, something appears to draw the attention of the videographer. The video quickly pans to the right, parent to the north, close parent, and directly to Kyle Rittenhouse and Joseph Rosenbaum. When the video reaches them, a male voice is heard yelling, "Gun, gun, gun. You won't do shit, motherfucker!" exclamation mark. This appears to be Joseph Rosenbaum yelling. Do you remember that?
Yes.
This is the video you're speaking of?
Yes.
Okay, please play the video. Started at 1.
Duramax just got... that Duramax got fucking beat, yo. Damn, homies out here. Bro. This guy just almost left.
You heard that at 41 seconds?
Yes.
And that was, could we go back 10 seconds? Stop. And in the upper right of the exhibit, I'm pointing right now at Mr. Kyle Rittenhouse, correct?
Correct.
Right behind him is the masked Mr. Rosenbaum, correct?
Correct.
And you hear the words that Mr. Rosenbaum uses, and you opine that that is in fact Mr. Rosenbaum's voice, correct?
Yes.
And that opinion is based upon you listening to other videos that have Mr. Rosenbaum's voice on them, correct?
Yes, and also what is depicted in the video.
Okay, and that's Kyle with a gun and Mr. Rosenbaum chasing him.
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Detective Howard, I just have a few follow-up questions. Yesterday you were asked about that search warrant that you obtained for Mr. Grosskreuz's phone. Is that correct?
Correct.
At the time that you obtained that search warrant, did you consider Mr. Grosskreutz to be a victim of a crime?
Yes.
You mentioned something called Marcy's Law yesterday. What is that, as you understand it?
Marcy's Law is a relatively new law in the state of Wisconsin which grants victims more rights.
I would ask the court to take judicial notice that on April 7th, 2020, Wisconsin voters amended the Wisconsin State Constitution under a ballot initiative called Marcy's Law. That took effect on May 4th, 2020. Will the court take judicial notice of that?
Fine.
There are some things that even lawyers can't argue about, and they can be put in a category called judicial notice. For example, no one could reasonably contend that Christmas doesn't fall on the 25th of December, so that can be judicially noticed, and the lawyers are agreed in this case that something not in dispute in this case is that the voters on the date which he's indicated approved an amendment to the Wisconsin Constitution that is called, I don't know if its official name is Marcy's Law, but its everyday usage name is Marcy's Law. Any question about that? That was adopted as part of the state constitution. What was the date?
The effective date was May 4th, 2020.
Okay, it was not adopted on that date, but became effective as of that date. Okay, thank you.
The Exhibit 37, the search warrant for Gage Grosskreutz was obtained approximately 4 months after that on September 23rd, 2020. Does that sound right to you?
Correct.
And I think you mentioned yesterday that at that time it wasn't clear to you and the department what the effect of Marcy's Law and those enhanced protections for victims would have on your ability to get search warrants for phones in this type of situation. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, so my intent when I wrote the search warrant was to obtain more information, and I was not thinking about Marcy's Law as I was writing the search warrant, but started thinking about it afterwards and wanted to err on the side of caution in respect of Mr. Grosskreitz's rights.
You were also asked questions about whether or not your interviews with certain people were recorded. Can you explain to the jury what the normal practice is as a detective with the Kenosha Police Department when you decide what interviews you do are going to be recorded and which ones you may not record?
We typically will always record custodial subjects. Those interviews will always be in a recorded interview room. Typically, we will put witnesses and complainants in non-recording interview rooms to obtain their statement. In this investigation, we put a lot of witnesses in. Well, we have 4 rooms, interview rooms, in our detective bureau. 3 of which are always recording, no matter what. And one of these rooms is delegated as a room that we will put complaining witnesses and witnesses in that room, so we can conduct an interview without it being recorded. The interviews that we conducted throughout the course of this investigation, we didn't intend to interview or record all of them, but some of those interviews were taking place inside of interview rooms that are always recording. So when we were able to go back, we were able to, even though we didn't intend to record those, we were able to pull those. But the ones that were conducted in the interview room that isn't always recording, there isn't a record, a video and audio of that.
Is it fair to say, Detective, that when you're dealing with someone that you consider to be the victim of a crime, you typically do not record those interviews with audio or visual? Is that fair to say?
Yes.
You were asked a question regarding the individual who has not been identified, the individual who came in and attempted to kick Mr. Rittenhouse in the face. And you indicated, despite your efforts, that person has not come forward and you've not been able to identify him. Is that correct?
Correct.
In the 14 months that you've been investigating this case, have you experienced individuals who have been reluctant to come forward and provide information?
We experienced a lot of reluctance in gathering information in this investigation.
Why do you think that is?
That's your call's perspective.
Sounds like it.
Fair enough. You were asked a question regarding Mr. Rosenbaum, and at some point during the evening, there's an allegation that he was holding a chain. You've seen photos or something to that effect, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Based on your investigation and your understanding of the timing of all of the events of that evening, do you know approximately when in the evening Mr. Rosenbaum had that chain?
I know location is going to be the area of St. James, because based on the information that we were able to gather, it appears that he obtained that chain from the St. James campus. And so it's hard to put an exact time on it, but I would estimate a couple hours before the incident at Sheridan and 63rd takes place.
Before you were shot by the defendant?
Yes.
In your investigation, have you seen any indication that Mr. Rosenbaum possessed that chain at the Ultimate gas station on the southeast corner of 60th and Sheridan?
No.
The defense has alluded to Mr. Rosenbaum being involved in verbal disputes, altercations, whatever you want to call them. There's a dumpster involved, etc. At any point in any of those scenes at Ultimate gas station, does Mr. Rosenbaum have any sort of weapon in his hand?
Just a plastic bag.
Just the plastic bag?
Yes.
No gun?
No.
No knife?
No.
No chain?
Not at Ultimate Gas, no.
No baseball bat or club or any kind like that?
No.
As far as you can tell in all those videos, is the only thing he's ever holding in his hand that plastic bag?
It's south of 60th Street, yes.
You've seen the video of Mr. Rosenbaum walking south on Sheridan towards the 63rd Street car source where he is shot by the defendant, correct?
Yes.
As he's walking down that street, is there any indication at any point that he's ever armed with anything?
Just the plastic bag in his hand.
Doesn't have a gun, correct?
Correct.
No knife?
No knife.
Ask and answer.
This is a different part of the sequence.
Overall.
No gun?
No.
No knife?
No.
No baseball bat or club?
No.
No chain?
No.
Obviously, in the end, at the time that he is shot and killed by the defendant at the 63rd Street car source, is there any evidence in the record of any kind that you've seen as the lead detective in the case that Mr. Rosenbaum was armed with a weapon?
No, he had the plastic bag, which he threw, and then had nothing in his hands after that.
about that incident at the 63rd car source where the defendant shoots and kills the defendant, or Mr. Rosenbaum. Can we please pull up exhibit number 19?
Yes.
Can we please play exhibit number 19? This is the video that is entitled Drew Hernandez Shooting Video. For the record, I'm just going to point out the parties as they're walking here. For the jury's benefit, we've heard testimony about this. This is a video that's taken as people are walking south on Sheridan towards the 63rd Car Street. This individual is Richie McGinnis, and this is the defendant in front of him. Agreed?
Yes.
Please continue. Detective Howard, on the screen there, it appears to show the car source dealership, correct?
The car source at 63rd and Sheridan, yes.
Okay. And would you help us to understand, maybe using the laser pointer on the map, approximately where this person would be standing when they're taking this video?
Drew Hernandez at this time is on the north end of the car source, so looks like he's standing in the grass if you look at the bottom of the screen. So I'd say he's right about here, and his video is pointing south into the parking lot. So I'd put him right about here in the grass.
The property that you are pointing to there on the map, which is just to the north of the car source, what is located on that lot?
That's one house.
So this individual, Mr. Hernandez, is in the yard of that house. Is that fair to say?
Yes, this house right here,
Okay.
and the grass right there.
All right, please continue the video. Detective, in the lower right-hand corner of that screen, there appears to be an object laying on the ground. Do you see that?
Yes,
Can you identify that for us?
that is the plastic bag that Joseph Rosenbaum can be seen throwing in other videos.
All right, please continue the video. Can we now please go back and show the FBI, actually no, I'm sorry. I believe it is exhibit number 25. The FBI video with markings, please. Detective Howard, in this exhibit number 25, I think we've already established that person of interest number 1 with the circle around him is Joseph Rosenbaum. Is that correct?
Correct.
And this shows where he runs immediately upon entering the car source lot. Would you agree with me on that?
Yes.
Can you describe for the jury, based on what you're seeing there, where it appears he's located at the moment of this video?
Pretty close to where Drew Hernandez was standing in the last video we watched. So this right here is going to be that. All right, I put Mr. Rosenbaum right about here at the far north end of the car source parking lot. I think it's important to note that on this map, the car source lot is filled with cars, but as we can see in the aerial footage, it's not filled with cars at this point in time. So I would put him Mr. Rosenbaum right about here.
Okay. Please continue the video for just a couple more seconds, then I'll have you stop. All right, go ahead and stop that, please. Now, can we go back to the last video, which is exhibit number 19?
The bailiff advises, I'm sorry, but someone had inquired about using the laser on the screen. And I can't tell you why, but the lasers do not work on the screen. That's why we have to use Sister Marcian's pointer for that. There it is. But, and I knew it well. But, I apologize that we don't have, I don't know whatever.
Can we please play exhibit number 19? Detective Howard, after watching that last video, which showed the movements of Mr. Rosenbaum, are you able to tell on this video, I know this doesn't show Mr. Rosenbaum in the proximity of where he originally went when he got to car source, but are you able to tell on this video where he went initially? Does that make sense?
I would put him at the approximately the front passenger tire of that white sedan, adjacent to where that gentleman is standing.
Okay. Thank you. Now, there's been a lot of testimony regarding the shot that was fired by Joshua Zeminski. Did Joshua Zeminski fire that shot in the direction of any particular person?
Objection. We just didn't know that.
If he knows, he can answer. Well, how would he know? You're going to have to set the foundation as to how.
Absolutely.
he would know.
Have you watched the videos that show Mr. Zeminski firing that shot?
Yes.
Where is he pointing the gun?
Straight up in the air.
You also testified that the lapse in time between that gunshot and the defendant shooting Mr. Rosenbaum was 2.5 seconds, 2.5 seconds. Is that right?
Approximately, yes.
You said you based that on timing it with a stopwatch?
Yes.
Did you do that based on one of the videos in the case?
No, I believe I did it with approximately 5 or 6 of the videos.
So you went through 5 or 6 videos and each one of them timed it with a stopwatch and determined that they're all right about 2.5 seconds?
Yes.
I have nothing further.
In video 19,